This is the Middle-earth philosopher. In the universe of Middle-earth, there is more or less a clear sense of good and evil, black and white, with little in between. But there does appear to be something further beyond the side of evil that, whenever it's mentioned, is ranked worse than evil: treachery. Now, what is treachery? The official definition being betrayal of trust or acts of suspicion or deceit. Yet, to my mind, these seem kind of bland, especially of Tolkien, who is going to write this into his characters with such revulsion. So the next question is, why is treachery considered so heinous? Orcs and Balrogs may be evil, even Melkor arguably, and even malicious. But you mentioned Maeglin, or Fëanor, or Sauron, or Gollum the Unhappy, and you might get a slight pause, a holding or quickening of the breath, a twist or sneer in the lip or the eyes of the person saying it, or towards the person that said it, like a taboo was just invoked or crossed somehow. I think part of the reason is that the universe of Middle-earth, one of the themes anyway, that runs within its very veins is the aspect, or I should say, spirit of brotherhood and loyalty. Now, I don't say that to be sexist, so that could include sisterhood as well, so keep that in mind. Anyway, the whole damn world may be coming to an end, but as long as people are loyal to each other to the end, it's okay. We see exemplars of this in Hurin, when he's holding off the armies of Morgoth with the last remnants of his people after the defeat at the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. And, with Finrod and his fellowship of elves and Beren during his quest for the Silmaril, and are captured by Sauron, who decided to feed them to his werewolves to get them to talk. You have the rebels of Dorthonion that Beren was a part of, choosing to remain in their now occupied lands to fight the orcs to the last man, without hope of victory. During the Second Age, you have the alliance between the High Kings Elendil and Gil-galad, and even into the Third Age with Aragorn and the army of the West, mortals, at the Black Gate, outnumbered and again, no chance of success. And, ultimately, Sam's loyalty to Frodo in the heart of the volcano when he was trying to destroy the ring. Now, you have alliances between peoples and leaders and such, but none of them are mentioned with as much passion or intent as these characters I just mentioned. There's something about them that seems to go above and beyond, that somehow the ultimate goodness of Uru or some higher thing is invoked somehow. These people and events are spoken or written with such reverence as if it qualifies that they were showing that the goals were rather achieving these personal heights rather than the triumph of good over evil itself. Compare this to what we got with Sauron, who betrayed his Valar Lord Aule to follow after Melkor, or Fëanor, who, while clearly having issues, is not regarded as treacherous until the Alqualande incident and the burning of the elven ships at Losgар and Beleriand in an attempt to abandon those Noldor who debated his reasoning. Or Gollum the Unhappy, a mortal man who was part of the same fellowship of rebels of Dorthonion as Beren, but betrays them to Sauron, resulting in all but one of their deaths. And especially Maeglin, the Sindarin elf lord of Gondolin, who was obsessed with his first cousin and princess, Idril, and his love is unrequited. And he's so incel with his behavior that he decides to betray the entire city and the last holdout of any good in Beleriand, Gondolin, to the armies of Morgoth. The Númenóreans, later in the Second Age, betray their trust to the Valar and friendship to other men in Middle-earth by sacrificing them on the regular and trying to seek immortality when they're not supposed to, in despite of all the blessings that they got. Even into the Third Age, this revulsion of treachery still lives. An example being mentioned with the fortress of Cirith Ungol being said to have fallen during the same age due to treachery, and resulted in the fall of Minas Ithil later on, as well as becoming a black mark on the reputation of the armies of Gondor. Yet, none of these examples are mentioned with an inkling of respect or redemption. They cross the red line somehow, a line that no one should cross for any apparent reason. And it's not to Uru, but betraying those that trusted them and causing the calamity that follows that seems to mark this. Morgoth, Sauron, the Witch King, and so on are all evil, but it seems like evil acts are already expected of them, so no one's really surprised, even though they're horrified. People are, or get wise pretty damn quick, that these characters are not to be trusted. But no one expects the knife from inside that stabs you in the back or cuts your throat. Now, to be fair, there is nuance here, my favorite word. Because none of these characters are or start out as evil. There's a reason they were trusted after all, so that they could betray us. To my eyes, extreme levels of dissatisfaction or depression seems to be the common theme in these betrayals. It's not like they woke up one day and said, I'm going to betray everyone I ever knew. Sauron felt that Ale was not doing enough for Middle-earth to make it as it should be, but that he just accepted the status quo. Fëanor had his father murdered and his Silmaril stolen while he was away with the Valar who were putting him on trial, and was unable to do about it. Maeglin had an abusive relationship with his father, and a strange but caring relationship with his mother long before he arrived in Gondolin. Gorlim was already in dire straits living on the run without knowing what happened to his family during the war before his land was occupied, and was in great depression and distress over this, which thus left him open to Sauron's deceptions. He didn't betray his friends willingly. And when it comes to the fall of Cirith Ungol to the forces of Sauron, that may have been a similar situation as well, because of the extreme isolation of its location. That perhaps that Cirith Ungol was so far from anything in the lands of Gondor and prosperity that the men there were just depressed or something, and that Sauron, through witchcraft or whatever his powers were, took advantage of that. Perhaps the only one who seems to escape this fate of treachery is Boromir, my boy. Because while he does betray, or try to betray Frodo by taking the One Ring, he also tries to redeem himself by trying to protect the other hobbits, as well as acknowledges that he fucked up. To my knowledge, he's the only one that gets a redemption from this. His name is still mentioned in the highest regards by his friends, and not the revile and revulsion that any of the other characters who committed treachery I mentioned before. Point being, though, that there are circumstances that seem to push these characters to the edge where they otherwise wouldn't choose to go, which leads them to treachery. Yet, regardless, in Tolkien's universe, once you cross that line, for whatever reason, there is no going back, and you have committed the ultimate sin. But what do you guys think? Do you think treachery is on the same level as evil and pretty much not as big a deal? Do you think that there is something unusual or special about treachery intended by Uru that makes it such a unpardonable sin, with exceptions like Boromir, of course? And, for that matter, why do you think that Boromir seems to be the exception to this? Let me know in the comments below, but this is the Middle-earth Philosopher, and you guys have a good day.